I do want to make one comment before we start, that this meeting has a single purpose, or on the agenda, there's a single purpose. Item 6 from the business special planning district traditions. The purpose of this meeting is to determine whether this meets the qualifications for a special planning district. It is not to evaluate the merits of the plan, or whether we like the plan or don't like the plan, or what we think of the plan. It's strictly to say, does this idea meet the requirements for a special planning district? This used to be determined in a staff meeting. It was never determined in an open forum like this. There'll be, how many more meetings? If this were to get approved, it would be...
You would have, if it would be approved, you'd have the initial public hearing. All said and done, there would be, for it to be completely approved, you'd have 4 public hearings.
Yeah. So this is not the only opportunity to comment. I just want everybody to understand we're not trying to vote on the layout or the plan or anything else. It's just to determine whether it's a special planning district. So, all right. With that said, Richard Fisher, is it? Fisher, yeah.
And just out of curiosity, with this said, I'm assuming it's okay to express opinions on this. Is that correct?
Can you state your name and address, please,
Yeah,
for the record?
Sorry.
It's fine. There's also a time, for those that haven't done this before, there's a timer up there that even starts and you get 5
Okay.
minutes. Yeah.
Richard Fisher, 125 Dogwood Drive in Pheasant Hills. Okay. So again, I know you're not approving anything, but I would like an expressive opinion. And I know I've looked at some of what Traditions does. I think they build nice stuff, but I don't think it fits here, especially the plans that's laid out. And I think that and I'm sure everybody knows this, that the purpose of the zoning commission is to protect the residents here and the entire feel of Loveland and what it's like. That's one of the reasons a lot of us moved here. And I hope down the line, wherever this goes, that, I know there'll be public hearings. I hope people keep in mind that we just went through a pretty big game-changing election in which people said we want elected officials to listen to us that put them there. So hopefully that rings true as we go forward. Now, as far as the looks of this thing, we've lived here since '95, and that area alone where this is being proposed is a beautiful area. So this looks to me like another cookie-cutter type development that you'd see in Clifton and a lot of other places where you have a wall of buildings right on the road obscuring the river, which I just don't think fits. A lot of it's in a floodplain. That's pretty obvious, and I think that's going to be. Anybody who saw Western North Carolina, if you don't think that can happen here, it didn't happen here that long ago. I remember seeing kayaks here in the lot. I think that's going to play into this. I think it will change the small town feel of Loveland, like the apartments up in Whippy Dip were put in here, which I don't think fit either. But the other thing is, developers a lot of times come into a community like this, and it seems like quite often they get their way. And people speak about this, they don't want it, but it always seems to be overruled. I hope that doesn't happen here. So I think that with all that said, I hope that people make the right decision going down here. I think there's going to be a whole lot more input coming in this. And so I guess finally I would say, people say progress is good. And I think progress can be good. But I think there's good progress and there's bad progress. And I don't consider this to be good progress. Thank you very much.
Next we have Kathy Kugler.
I'm glad to be here tonight. My name is Kathy Kugler. I live at 7106 Tenderfoot Lane, Cincinnati. I'm also a member of the Isaac Walton League of America, which is located at 544 Branch Hill, Loveland Road, Loveland, Ohio. Our club owns an extensive riverfront area, which we maintain for the protection of the river, the aquatic life, bird life, and all other native inhabitants. We have sponsored and provided funding for Saturday stream sampling programs. This gathers data on water quality at numerous points in the Little Miami River and its tributaries. This data is scientifically analyzed and results are maintained for water quality study. I am here because of my concerns regarding the negative effect on water quality, aquatic life in the Little Miami River, and animal life that is dependent on shore and stream health. The floodplain will be changed and the effects will fall completely on the river and all of its supports. At present, it has not been scientifically certified that this development will have no negative impact on the Little Miami River, both upstream and downstream. And I think that is a component of certifying in this special fragile area. What would that effect be? And you don't know. To determine the effect of this proposed development, please consider requiring an environmental study with results used to determine further development. In addition, before this proposed development proceeds further, the U.S. Corps of Engineers must make a study of the proposal and the effects on floodwaters, both up and down on existing properties and protected habitats. This proposal significantly increases impervious surfaces, roof areas, driveways, and concrete patio areas, which significantly increase runoff. It increases heat retention. The increases run from toxic materials from gas-powered vehicles, roofs, and other surfaces. This runoff may not be contained within a catchment area, but if that catchment area is within a floodplain, what happens when it floods? All of that water that was to be contained is now in floodwater and into the Little Miami River. Protection of this fragile area and our fragile river is of utmost importance. There is no other place for wildlife and aquatic life to go. Once their habitat is disrupted and destroyed, they are gone. So please continue to protect this scenic river. I made it under 5, right?
Next follow-up point.
Good evening, Todd Osborne, 1100 Sunrise Drive. Thank you for hearing our comments. I'd like to make something clear on the outset. I've been in the Schildmeyer family for most of my life. In fact, Gary was one of my baseball coaches in LIO. So I greatly respect the lineage. Tonight's comments are not about them. It's about procedure. When I reviewed the packet from the canceled meeting and tonight's meeting, what was striking was the lack of any discussion regarding the Clean Waters Act or the Wild and Scenic River Act of 1968. I didn't see any correspondence or permits from ODNR, the National Park Services, the Department of Interior, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, or the Army Corps of Engineers regarding this proposed project, which is on and adjacent to a national scenic riverway. Maybe even include the Little Miami Conservancy. Sure, you can add fill dirt to bring a house out of the floodplain, but that's not counting for a national scenic riverway or the proposed stormwater detention within the flood zone and adjacent to the river. As I understand it, any fill of more than 1 acre inside the ordinary high water mark may require a federal permit. That goes beyond this commission. Could there be an impact to the river or environment along the river or even downstream, as was just mentioned? At minimum, has there been any discussion? Anything in writing? If so, shouldn't that be placed with the application? Thanks to last week's CIP meeting of council, there was mention of a lengthy, almost 800-page report done by the Army Corps of Engineers, Louisville Division, regarding the West Bank stabilization project along the Little Miami on River Road. And it's online, and it's insightful because it kind of refers to this project in a way. Clemente-wise. And then there's the placement. This is in the historic West Loveland zone, and it says so on the city's zoning map, and it's in the comprehensive master plan on page 59. So procedurally, this should probably go past historic preservation planning first. But procedurally, this shouldn't even be in front of this commission tonight because you're putting the cart way before the horse. There appears, let me back this up, it appears that there needs to be some major due diligence done and with written confirmation that this project can even happen way before an SPD. Then, until then, at this moment, this proposed SPD is wasting planning and zoning's valuable time. It's procedure. So what's the rush? Get everything in writing first from the feds and the state. Is this even doable? Thanks.
Thank you, Sharon. I didn't pronounce your last name.
Give it a try.
Scovana?
Scovana.
Okay.
Just like it's spelled. It's easier than it looks. Sharon Scovana, 155 Overlook Drive. The required findings of fact for the establishment of an SPD, according to ordinance 111, 51.03, are that one or more of the following conditions exist or will exist within the proposed SPD. A, a concentration of retail and service-oriented commercial establishments serving as a principal business activity center for the community. Obviously, that doesn't apply here. B, land that is occupied by substantial natural characteristics worthy of preservation or which are historic aids to the identification of residential communities, which help residents relate to their communities and to relate the social organization of communities to their physical environment. While not historic, this land does have substantial natural characteristics worthy of preservation, but an SPD is not needed to preserve them. The land designation of scenic waterways, active, and regulatory floodways by designation already protect and preserve the natural characteristics of the land along the river. C, lands which permit for ingenuity, imagination, and design efforts on the part of builders, architects, site planners, and developers that can produce residential developments which are in keeping with the overall land use intensity and open space objections of the comprehensive master plan while departing from the strict application of the use, setback height, and minimum lot size requirements contained in the zoning code. This development would not produce a residential development that is in keeping with the land use intensity, as the property is currently zoned RMD and OR, which will allow for 5 single-family units. 12 units are being proposed, which is a much higher density than current zoning in the surrounding area. Additionally, the proposed design does not conform to the future land use designation in the comprehensive master plan, which designates this land in the historic district. Community input in the comprehensive master plan regarding development calls for maintaining Loveland's charm and unique appeal, and also a desire to protect and preserve the existing charm and architectural style of existing neighborhoods. The historic residential district states that the existing charm and development patterns of this area shall, which is mandatory language under the law, be maintained and preserved. The existing homes on North Riverside Park and Ohio Streets are traditional style homes mostly clapboard style siding and front porches from the early 20th century, with lots that average 75 feet wide on North Riverside, 55 feet wide on Park, and 56 feet wide on Ohio. The developer acknowledges that homes will have a more modern feel, with lot sizes and setbacks significantly smaller than the surrounding homes. It should also be noted that this development relies on bringing in filter to raise the level of the buildings to street level, permanently altering the natural state of land. As this land floods regularly, doing so would be basically creating a dam, causing flooding to the neighbors, which the courts have ruled against of late, using what is called the reasonable use rule. Ohio Supreme Court has ruled that there is no liability regarding natural runoff, but changing the topography of land could create liability to both property owners and to the city. In Mayotte versus Mayfield, the city of Mayfield, Ohio, was found liable for permitting development that caused flooding to others. Like many development projects, the request for an SPD is merely a mechanism for a developer to add density to maximize profits, which goes against the letter and spirit of the SPD ordinance. SPDs are meant to be a way to protect land, not exploit it. In this case, the developer has failed to present a plan that is in keeping with the character, scale, and intensity of the neighborhood, and does not embody attributes and conditions of RMD, OR, or the comprehensive master plan. The proposal is not unique, but rather a cookie-cutter design of other developments in the city. Given these findings, as well as the liability to the city if the topography of the land is altered, I respectfully ask the committee to deny the zoning change. Thank you.
Next, we have two people signed up. Are you both speaking together?
I thought that was a sign-in.
I'm sorry?
I thought that was just a
Oh,
sign-in.
You gotta talk now. Sorry.
Too late. That's okay. Well, thank you. Next one is Mark Bersani.
Yeah, is it possible for me to grant my time to Aaron Rourke?
Sure.
He was not here at the sign-up time, so
If you want.
I would like Aaron to speak
That's
in
fine.
my place.
Okay, that's fine. Make sure you state your name and spell your name.
Sure.
Can you hear me? Gentlemen of the jury, can you hear me? I'm Aaron Rourke. I'm the Southwest Ohio Scenic River Coordinator for the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. My last name is spelled Rourke. Do you want my address?
Yes, please.
Springboro, Ohio. Our office is in Matters Mill, just upstream. First, I want to point out that I don't have any regulatory authority within city limits, but I would be happy to give any advice to soften any development that may come from this proposal. Little Miami has kind of special relevance within river conservation circles because Ohio has the oldest scenic rivers program in the nation. It even predates the federal program that protects so many iconic western rivers like the Yellowstone, the Snake, and many others. And you know the Little Miami is designated in that system too. But we had precedence. Our program was passed 6 months before the federal program back in 1968. So among the river conservationists in the highly developed East, what you can do with concerted, dogged conservation attention over 50 years is exemplified by the Little Miami. Almost all Ohio rivers are threatened mainly by ag pollution, phosphorus and nitrogen. In the case of Little Miami, I wish I had time to worry about that. It's stormwater, which is the biggest problem in this watershed. Because once you restore a river, people want to live near it. Impervious surfaces are the source of that stormwater. A great deal of Loveland's remaining absorptive surface has been paved or roofed in the last few years. and I'm very concerned about that trend continuing. Not only is sediment shed by stormwater, but the volume of stormwater creates flashiness, so our river rises and falls very quickly. And the erosion during the rise, during the flood events, is beginning to entrench the channel, and it's losing contact with its floodplain, which is the beginning of a death spiral. We still have plenty to protect. For instance, the number one most imperiled group of animals in Ohio is freshwater mussels. And yet, the best colony I know of remaining is at Foster's, just a few miles upstream. Over 300 individuals, about 17 species out of the 40 that have ever been found in our river, 3 threatened and endangered, and young. So there's a Goldilocks situation there. Very rarely do we find young freshwater mussels anymore. As with the Isaac Walton League, I and my colleague with the Scenic Rivers program down here in the Southwest do macroinvertebrate monitoring, and one of the first animals to fall out of the assemblage is Schildmeyer, which fishermen know is about the best bait available for smallmouths and rock bass in particular. And we still find Schildmeyer in this area. Cities are really the pain points on the Little Miami because there's so much development occurring. Loveland is envied for its association with the river and the bike trail by other communities, and what you do here will be replicated elsewhere. Milford probably is the little brother in this case. The riparian corridors, well, as a river conservationist, there's one thing, if you're limited to one thing, you've got the other hand tied behind your back. It is to maintain the wooded buffer along the river. It's thin in many places here in Loveland. If this development does come to pass, I'd be happy to offer any comments on how you can make it as environmentally compatible with the goose that's laying the golden eggs here, the river. Any questions?
Thank you very much.